Thank you, Pen. Really. For everything. What you did last night.
I followed all the steps.
Yes, you did. And now I get to live in this big old house with all my daughters.
Do you think Mary's gonna come back?
It should just be a matter of time.
It's the Compendia Podcast, episode number 1. I'm your host, Paul Christian Glenn, joined today by my co-host, Neil T. And on today's show, we take a look at offbeat supernatural dramedy Winter Slides, written and directed by Terrence Cray. Spoilers do ensue, so if you'd like to watch the film before you listen, head on over to its official website at winterslides.com and check it out.
I think you might be able to identify with this as well. I watched the first 10 minutes and then I couldn't get into it. It was kind of a bit weird and a bit amateurish, and I gave up. Then I tried to watch it again and I was like, I can't watch this, it's too rubbish. And then on the third attempt, about 20 minutes in, it got good. And I thought, oh, okay, I like this is good. So it took me 3 attempts, and I think that's a bit unfortunate for the movie because it might mean that, you know, if you watch it casually, you might not get past the first 10, 15 minutes.
I think I mentioned to you, I started thinking I was going to abandon within the first couple of minutes because it does start out a little bit rough, but I thought it got interesting maybe a little bit quicker than you did. I would say 15 or 20 minutes in. But it's a very strange kind of film, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, when I first started watching it, I was like, what is this? Is this like 1780s horror? You know, is this a bit weird? Because that girl is quite attractive. And you're thinking, well, she's too attractive to be in like a 1780s horror movie. Her teeth are far too good for a start. So I'm thinking, is this like, I don't know, back cabin casting couch where she's going to take her top off or something? You know, it's like a horror / medieval themed porn.
No such luck.
She doesn't. No.
Here, I'll just read the summary real quick from the official website at winterslides.com. It says, Winter Slides is a weird, sad, supernatural dramedy about Mary, a 27-year-old lonesome woman who inherits her old childhood home after her estranged father dies. But upon arriving at the house, she soon discovers that she has inherited it with 2 other half-sisters she never knew existed. And then to make matters worse, her father comes back from the dead. Ooh. So supernatural dramedy, I guess, might have tipped me off a little bit, but I had a hard time acclimating. I couldn't figure out if it was trying to be funny because it starts off quite serious. And then there's you could tell they were going for some jokes. And I actually did laugh out loud a couple of times.
Yeah, me too. I did, but also I think quite a few of the jokes fell quite flat. So I think they could have done with a bit of polishing on the old comedy front.
Yeah, I think maybe that had to do with some of the performances. Yeah,
definitely with our friend with the hat who kept saying, boom. It's like, here's a sentence. Boom. Here's another sentence. Boom. I'm going down to buy some food from the shop. Boom.
Right.
Okay, I'm just popping out now. Boom. I got really tiresome.
Well, it felt a little bit like that was his character. Right, that was his hook. Like that was pretty much all there was for him. He had a function to serve in the story, but there wasn't a whole lot of there with him. Well,
on the subject of the performances, I thought I'll talk about the 2 women, the lead and also the sort of perky sorority girl later. But most of the other guys were not as good, but I think they kind of improved. Their performances kind of improved as the movie went on, and I wondered whether the movie was shot chronologically. In that, like, the first couple of scenes, like that scene where they're in that tiny little bedroom, in that tiny little bed, and it looks weird. I'm like, is this the room too? It's all pasty, and it looks horrible. That scene looks horrible, which is really unfortunate because it's like the opening scene or something, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
But later on, you see the same guy, and I'm thinking, is that the same guy? Because he looks great now. He's not pasty and horrible. Mm-hmm. I don't know whether it was the lighting that was different in the later scene where he's sitting down on a couch almost towards the end of the movie. He looked better, his makeup was better, or the lighting was better, and it looked a heck of a lot better. I don't know whether that was a production issue.
His performance, I felt like, improved as the film went on as well. That first, it might have been the dialogue in that scene was a little rough, and it was pretty harsh way to open to open the film with the way that he was treating her, and
Yeah. I did not understand what he was talking about with that sex talk. I don't know what he was saying, but it was I definitely got a sort of a Tommy Wiseau vibe off him.
yeah. Although he was
Something about, I will you better later or something. What the is that about?
right, and blaming her for his apparent inadequacies. But she was quite. I thought she was quite fetching, actually. The lead actress, Pamela Mitchell.
Yeah, I thought she was a really good actress. Actually, I don't know about
Agreed.
whether she's good looking or not, but she looks great in her publicity photos on IMDb. Maybe she needed better lighting in the movie. She looked okay, but I thought she was a really good actress.
Yeah, well, I think she was charming, I guess, because when the film started, I thought to myself, I don't know, I guess her character is kind of a frumpy, sort of strange outcast kind of character. So maybe you're not necessarily supposed to be in love with her right off the bat, but I really, really warmed up to her as time went on, and I agree. I think she was great. I was going to say that the white pasty guy in the bed was responsible for one of my favorite points in the movie, which was this bit.
So it's not actually considered a square root. Think about it. 3 more numbers on top.
Going back to that opening scene. Again, it must have been the lighting, but it looked like his belly button was like a huge cave. Did you notice that?
I did
that has
not.
to be the lighting. Go back and look at that. It's weird. It's like he's a big sort of cavern inside his tummy there.
Yeah, I don't know that I'll go back and look at that.
Yeah, the one thing I noticed that when it got to the end of the movie was that it felt like about 50% of the shots were somebody opening a door or closing a door or going in or out of a building. I don't know if you noticed that, but it's like a lot of going in and out of doors. A lot of the cast would go. It's quite a reasonably sized cast, and they're all going in and out of doors all the time.
Yeah, I didn't notice that bit, but I did notice that there was a lot of waiting. It felt like there was a lot of waiting around toward the end of the movie, where I kept thinking, we're coming towards something. I don't know if they were trying to pad it out or whatever, but
I think it probably would have worked better as a short. I think it was stretched out far too far. Whether it could have been like, was it 90 minutes? Could have easily been 30 minutes. I think this is a good short story, both in terms of the subject matter, but also in terms of how, we don't need to see this guy going out to a bar and trying to seduce the other girl and blah blah blah. And either that or put a bit more plot in there or a bit more backstory, because I didn't really understand what was going on with that medieval woman at the beginning. Who was that related to? There wasn't a heck of a lot of character development or plot really.
Yeah. Did you understand the ending?
You have to remind me. I saw this about 24 hours ago. But I can't remember what happened. Oh, yes, they were in like limbo, weren't they?
I think so.
That bit. Yeah, the black bit. I assumed they were in limbo, and then she left limbo and went back to being alive, right?
Yes, I think so. But I didn't really understand the mirror image of each of the characters, and I didn't understand what was going on with the people on the outside. So.
No, that didn't make a heck of a lot of sense. Have you seen Under the Skin?
No, but you're the second person to ask me that in the last 24 hours.
Those scenes in the black reminded me a heck of a lot of Under the Skin.
Oh, really?
Which is a really interesting movie, and I wouldn't for 1 minute suggest that they stole anything from Under the Skin, because they probably made this or at least wrote it well before Under the Skin came out, because Under the Skin hasn't been out very long. But there are some scenes in Under the Skin that are very, very much like that. And I did like that, actually. I like that idea of going in. I mean, I think overall the movie got better and better as it went along. I got much more engaged when we got into sort of like about 25 minutes in. Maybe that's the second act. I don't know. I don't keep track of these things. But also, I think it just got better and better as it went along. And also, I think the guy who played her father was a good actor. I think that all those people, the better actors came more to the fore. I think it obviously improved in terms of watchability.
That guy who played the dad, he's been in quite a few things uncredited.
He was in Wolf of Wall Street. Did he get a credit for that?
Doesn't look like it, no.
He appeared under his IMDb. It says he's in Wolf of Wall Street. So
It shows he was on 6 episodes of Boardwalk Empire, uncredited.
He's an extra, obviously. His background. He's not got a speaking role.
I guess so.
I don't know how it works with SAG and AFTRA and all that, but I imagine if you get a speaking role, you get a credit. I don't know.
Can you just post up that you've been in a million films uncredited?
Oh yeah, you can. You can. Yes, you can, because you can put your own credits into IMDb, and I think if you hit cast, then it'll show the main credited cast, and then if you do full cast and crew, then you can just add whatever you want in.
Yeah, and if you're not credited in the film, there's no way to verify that, is there?
I know people who are on IMDb who have credits, and I don't know whether, like one guy I work with who does motion capture, and he's done quite a few movies. I don't know whether he put himself in there, but I wouldn't put it past him. Not saying he didn't do it. I'm just saying he might not have been credited.
Speaking about our friend with the hat, what was his name in the film? Johnny. He, I felt like his accent was a little bit inconsistent.
Well, also the father's accent was kind of in and out, wasn't it? Was that an East Coast accent, like not Boston, but where?
No. It sounded like New Jersey.
Yeah, the filmmakers I think are based in New York. Is Amityville in New York?
Yes.
Well, I think they're based around there, and I don't know if you looked at some of their other works, but it's pretty much there's like 5 or 6 people who are in all of the previous productions. So I think they all grew up together, a lot of these guys, or they know each other in the area.
This writer-director Terrence Cray has a web series, Oh Inverted World.
Yes, I had a look at. I looked at his show reel. His show reel's on YouTube, so I saw clips from that.
How was that? I didn't get a chance to look at it.
It's more of the same.
Oh, really?
I think it's a theme that he's into, which is zombies, and I don't want to sort of damn him by just looking at a tiny sample of his work, but I think he did a web series, and in the web series, I don't know. I think it might cover different. It might cover different topics, but one of those topics is a zombie walking around pretty much in the same way that the father was in this one. And he's got a podcast as well. That
was something I really appreciated, actually, was the different take on zombies are everywhere, of course, now. It's everything with Walking Dead and all, the films in the last few years. And I've been waiting for somebody to do something a little bit different. And I don't know that this was necessarily firing on all cylinders, but I appreciated the attempt to do something a little bit different with it.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say it was that original. I'm trying to, there's so many, I wrote down a bunch of movies. I don't really want to talk about this a bit later on, but I wrote down a bunch of movies that it reminded me of. I'm not saying that, well, first of all, I'm not saying they're nicking or stealing anything, but secondly, there's nothing wrong with stealing. I mean, everyone does it. I watched a documentary about the Red Shoes, which you must see. I insist you see this.
Yeah, it's on my list.
And basically, Scorsese stole a shot from the Red Shoes and just planted it straight into the Shutter Island. It's the same shot.
Mm-hmm.
And what was my point? Oh, my point was, there's so many I thought of. And actually, when you said that, I just thought about Dead Like Me. Have you seen that, the TV series?
I'm aware of it, but I've never seen it.
I liked it. I loved Dead Like Me. And it's stuff like that. There's a lot of that stuff. I mean, even well before sort of the Twilight craze happened, I think there was a lot of stuff going on. But there's a lot of TV and movies like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing that I thought was interesting about it was I didn't really understand that it was a zombie movie until fairly close to the end. I mean, I knew that there was obviously something weird going on there, but there's also magic, and they were talking about being a necromancer and all of these things. So there was.
Wait a minute. You didn't work out that when he came back and he had the sort of dark makeup around his eyes and he couldn't eat anything, you didn't work out he was dead from that?
No,
really?
I knew that not. I want to say yes to appear smart, but not totally. I mean, obviously he was dead. When he came back, I didn't know where they were going with it. I didn't know that it was necessarily going to turn into body parts falling off and that sort of thing.
Right, no, you make a good point in that I didn't think zombie. Yeah, it's only when his bits start falling off. Okay, well, there's a zombie.
Right.
But yes.
Right. Right.
But like the modern thing to do is to reference old horror tropes without referencing them directly and trying to. It's quite a modern thing to, which is quite clever in a way, is to not pretend that it's not happening, but to put a modern spin on things. So one of my favorite TV shows from a few years ago, I think it was about 96, 98, 2000, something like that, was a Channel 4 UK TV series called Ultraviolet.
Mm-hmm.
And I think something like half the episodes had gone by before they even brought up the idea of them being vampires, and I don't think they ever say vampires. And it was quite cleverly done because it's very modern. So I think that's quite a common thing now, isn't it?
That's nothing to do with the atrocious film.
No, that was 2006, the shitty film with that woman off.
All those other movies.
Well, wasn't she in that thing with Bruce Willis where they're in
Yeah,
space?
The Fifth Element.
That's it, yeah.
And all the Resident Evil.
Oh, Mila Jovovich.
Yeah, I don't know how to say her name, or I would have said it. Mia Jovovich.
Jovovich.
She was in Dazed and Confused. That's the only good movie she's ever made, for my money. Oh, so the comedy in this film, I mentioned before, I laughed out loud at a couple of bits, but I'm curious what you found funny, if anything.
I didn't write down what I found funny, but I did definitely laugh out loud. So maybe you've got the same. Mine
are a bit difficult to describe audio-wise, but the way they cut to a lot of things really made me laugh. Scene where they were in the kitchen and one of her boyfriends was telling her, am I really expected to hang around here when there's all these guys who want to sleep with you? And she said, they don't all want to sleep with me. And then the camera would pan over real quickly to the other guy staring at her at the refrigerator. And then they did it again 15 seconds later with the father.
The funny thing is, the only guy she didn't bang of the male cast was her dad, and he wanted to bang her anyway to put like a devil zombie child inside her, right?
Right. Yeah. She was a bit loose, that one, wasn't she?
I didn't get that at first. I thought when he pointed to her stomach, he was saying, "You're pregnant." In other words, she'd slept with guy, and then she'd become pregnant, and he was pointing at her stomach to say, "I want to then occupy your existing zombie baby, your existing child from the guy." But I didn't realize until the end that what he was saying was, "I want to bang you and put a zombie baby child in you," which is really weird.
Is that what he was saying?
Yes.
I did not get that. I thought
he apologized towards the end. He apologized, saying, "I'm sorry. I wanted to try and bang you to put."
Oh, right.
Put myself inside you. That's wrong. That's all kinds of wrong. That is.
That is. But then what was he doing with the boom guy?
What do you mean?
Well, he clearly sent that guy down there, right? His Johnny's eyes were all freaked out.
Well, this is again a plot element that was not properly explained. Mm-hmm. You see his eyes go funny, like, well, what's this guy? Although I was thinking, well, it could have been his girlfriend, his proper girlfriend, who'd sent him that way, but she didn't know anything about him trying to bang her at that point.
No,
she only sent the other two guys bonkers and zombified right at the end, didn't she? Although that wasn't terribly clear until they really spelled it out by her. I think I hold a spell book on a driveway.
Yeah, the whole ending bit there was unclear. But now that you say that, it makes a little more sense, because one thing I could not work out was why. So I thought that the father sent Boom Guy down there to have sex with her and impregnate her and and occupy whatever baby was inside of her. And I thought, why does it have to be her baby? Why can't it be any baby? If he just needs a body, why can't he just go find someone who's already pregnant? Why does he have to do weird things with his daughter and her boyfriend?
The only thing that would explain that is that she's the only one who knows what's going on with him, but that's kind of a weak.
Yeah,
that's a bit weak, isn't it? That you have to bang your daughter because of that. I don't think so.
Mm-hmm. Did it feel like there was a lot of throwing up in this movie?
There is one review on the indie movie site where we watched it, the streaming site. There's one review on there, and he said, "I didn't like this because there's too much throwing up."
Oh, I didn't see that.
But in fact, did you review it on IMDb? Did you put a rating on there?
I did not.
They only need 5 votes, Paul.
I did not.
What do you got? In order to get a rating on IMDb, you need at least 5 votes. So I thought, I'll give him a vote because I'm logged in on there. I thought I'll give him a vote.
I don't.
Which I thought was okay.
Yeah. Would you rate it?
6. I mean, the thing is, like, the average for like most movies you'll see is about 7. And I'm like, I don't think this is as good as, let's say, the latest Liam Neeson film, because I happen to see a Liam Neeson film. Mm-hmm. That's a bad example. But you know what I mean? It's not exactly Lord of the Rings. It's not like 8 level or...
Yeah.
I mean, you have to rate it for what it is, but even so, I wouldn't necessarily give this a massively high rating as a recommendation. I think if you're into the genre, probably you'd be into it. I'm not really a big genre fan, so...
Right. Well, and you have to rate it relative to what it is. I agree. But I don't actually have an account at IMDb. And I should probably...
Dun.
I don't know. Is it linked up with something else? Can I log in there with Facebook or Google or something like that?
I don't know. I've had an account on there since 2000, which I only realised recently when I logged in. But so yeah, long time.
Yeah, I've been using the site for years. I've just never signed up for a.
Because normally, if I had to sign up for anything, I have to put like Neil T 00000238642, or whatever. But on this, I'm Neil T because I got in there so early. So,
right.
But I don't rate a lot of movies on there. I've rated like 4 movies on there. So because I just can't be bothered. But I thought I'd give them a vote because otherwise, how else are they going to get? Because is it IndieFlix? Is that the site?
Yeah, IndieFlix, FLIX.
Okay, so on IndieFlix, it's like got a 97% rating. I'm thinking from 7 people. So I'm thinking, really? Is this the casting crew voting here? Which you tend to think of when you think of things like IMDb, but I don't know whether IMDb know or whether maybe they're, because the director has put all that info on IMDb. He's done quite a good job actually, but I maybe he either didn't think to vote on there or he.
If I was going to rate it, and I think I will, that's a good idea. I would probably rate it. I guess I would rate it about a 5. Like I said, the first bit was really rough for me, and I think that you need to measure your expectations going in. But overall, worth watching. Maybe 6. Yeah, 6 tips it over into the worth watching end of the spectrum, I guess. I really didn't like the look of the film. I hate that dark blue filter.
Yeah. I got so many notes about that. It's ridiculous, and I don't even know how to make movies, unlike yourself.
Well, like I said, it's a peeve of mine. I really, really like movies that look like movies, and I hate this desaturated dark blue nonsense. And I'm sure that it wasn't shot like that. That's got to be post-production work.
Oh, I hope not. Well, I was thinking, when did they make this? Because did they shoot it in 2013? Because it's listed as 2014 release, and I think it's listed 2013 elsewhere, but doesn't look modern at all. And I don't know whether that's because we were watching. I don't think it's because we're watching a low resolution version on the interwebs. I don't really think it is because, grade it so it looks like film would be one option. I don't know whether that's too expensive to do.
It's not.
But yeah. In modern times, surely grading would fix all that, and isn't that easy to do now with sort of post-production software like After Effects and all that?
If I had to guess at it, and I don't want to, denigrate anyone's work who maybe put a lot of time into this. It looks like just some sort of plug-in. You can go in and tick the box that says give it this look.
I don't have a problem with a film being dark. It's just that there wasn't really a lot of contrast either. So I don't know how easy that is to fix in post. I don't know.
Well, a lot of it depends on how it was, how it was shot in the footage that you're working with. I felt like otherwise, technically, it was pretty well put together. The sound was great, which is something you don't notice unless it's bad. I thought they did a really good job capturing the sound, and it didn't seem to me like there was an awful lot of looping. It looked like a lot of it was the live dialogue. So I thought that was impressive. Okay, so let's talk about strong points and weak points. Go.
So the notes I made about the sort of production in terms of the strong points, I thought it was quite nicely paced and well edited, because a lot of the times when you see sort of not saying amateur, but when you see a low budget movie, it can be really poorly paced. Mm-hmm. The dialogue happens to, they hold on to a shot too long or too short, or It was really nicely done, really professionally done, actually. I thought the editing was very, very good. We talked about the actress. I thought the lead actress, Pamela Mitchell, was very, very good. I thought the others were okay. Mm-hmm. I would say second best was Alicia Segal. I thought she was pretty good. He was the sort of perky sorority sister.
I thought she was really good when she was the perky sorority sister. When things got serious a little bit further on, I felt like she got a little bit weaker. But not
the most convincing performance, certainly.
Well, but I think a big problem for me with it was I just didn't think that she looked like a college-aged person.
Right. She's not. She's
bit
like
too old
28.
for me. Right. So I struggled with that throughout from the very beginning. When she first came in and she was, kind of bright and perky and goofy, I thought she was engaging and fun. And then as soon as I realized that she was supposed to be in a sorority, it took me out. So that may not be her fault. The third sister, I felt she did a fine job, but I felt like she was a little bit extraneous. I don't understand why that character was there.
Oh, you mean Daria, that one?
Yeah. Yes.
She was a bit underwritten, and yeah, definitely, I would agree. Yes, definitely superfluous.
She didn't seem like she really had anything to do.
I was trying to think of as many positives as I could. So let me finish on the positives. I think it does work as a drama, not as much as a comedy, and I don't know. I think that might have been a mistake. Trying to put those comedic elements in because I don't think they really worked, and that's quite a difficult thing to do, actually.
Well,
it's better than I thought it would be, actually, from the outset, because I was really ready to bail after about 10 minutes, and it was a lot better than I thought it would be, and it definitely held my interest, so yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll give it one thumb up, one and a half thumbs up, but barely.
Strong points. I definitely felt that Pamela Mitchell, I agree, was the strongest part of the film. She was really, really good. And again, her performance charmed me. When at the very beginning, I just thought like, ugh, I do not like this character. And by the end of it, I was definitely engaged with that.
Yeah.
The other strong point for me was probably the. It's going to sound a bit strange after some of the criticisms that I've leveled, but I think the writing. I thought the writing was pretty well done. There were a few spots in there where I thought the scenes were underwritten, and you could tell that the actors were. Struggling a little bit. I think in particular the scene where Johnny comes in and he's grabs the whiskey and he doesn't really have anything to say. He's just kind of standing there staring at the bottle. And I felt there were a couple spots like that where there needed to be a little bit more dialogue. But overall, I felt like the story was pretty well written and definitely drew me in from beginning to end.
Yeah, I agree. There were a few bits of weird dialogue, especially at the beginning, with all that nonsense with the sex talk and stuff. But and some of it, it's difficult to separate whether it was the performance or whether it was the dialogue. Because certainly the boom guy there's some issues with the boom guy, and I don't know whether that was the dialogue or the performance, or maybe a bit of both.
I feel like probably, I feel like he was probably intended to be the primary comic relief, and that as mentioned, I just don't think that worked all that well. While we're talking about, why don't we move on to what weak points?
I'm not a fan of shaky cam for gratuitous reasons. Coincidentally, I watched The Bourne Supremacy like a couple of nights ago, which is one of the very first shaky cams, because it was Paul Greengrass coming from his documentary background and deliberately shaking the camera. And funny enough, there's not a lot of shaky cam in Bourne Supremacy. I was really surprised. It's got so bad recently, in the last sort of few years, that is now not as shaky cam as you think. And this wasn't shaky cam. It was just like, why is this a handheld shot?
Yeah.
Doesn't somebody own a tripod? Because I don't know anything about filmmaking, but I have seen tripods, and it's like, why is this and I think it might have been a stylistic choice. Obviously Blair Witch, led the way with handheld horror movies, but I don't know. I don't like that. And also, there was one shot where they were doing like I don't know if you call it a tracking. No, it wasn't a tracking shot, but they're basically following the lead actress going into a house. And this is actually before you mentioned to me you were buying all this gear and you were buying like a steady cam kind of outfit. And this is before that I made this note, which was that why don't they just have a DSLR filming this on a steady cam? Because they were like wobbling about and I'm like, well, this is just distracting now, And this movie is going to be seen on it's even worse on a cinema screen, but it was distracting. And I don't know. I don't like it it's like, I don't know what you think, but I think it always looks more professional if you've got, if you use professional methods. The other thing which on a similar sort of vein, but almost opposite, is that they just didn't move the camera much. It's like, okay, you haven't got any money, put the camera on a wheelchair or on a skateboard or something with a steady cam, move the camera a bit, because they're just, this sort of leads into this, there's almost no establishing shots, and I didn't know where I was half the time. Whose house am I in? What's going on? And then also on the subject. This is basically all the same kind of topics, really, was the shot composition. There were a lot of tight shots, and I don't know why they were there. I don't know whether behind the actor there was like a mess or something, but it's like, okay, this is a shot where it's framed entirely in the actor's face. There hasn't been a two shot. There hasn't been a establishing shot. I don't know where I am. I'm in somebody's kitchen. It looks like the kitchen's about 3 foot wide, because you haven't seen anything of the, it's like, can you move out a bit and just show me the kitchen a bit more?
Yeah, I don't, I really dislike shaky cam as well. I will say I didn't notice it too much in this, and that may just be because, as you say, it's gotten relatively pretty bad over the last few years. I know that a lot of times you'll move to a handheld shot if you're trying to put the viewer ill at ease, to sort of throw everything off balance a little bit, and that may be what was going on here. I didn't notice it all that much. I actually, to be honest, I felt like the camera work was, for the most part, pretty well done. For me, the biggest...
I think I just maybe I haven't seen enough micro budget or low budget movies to say whether it's good or not, because I'm just comparing with where movies where they spend millions of dollars. I'm like, why does this look crap? Oh, okay, they haven't got any money.
Well, I expect if you stick with the show, you may revisit that opinion. Moving forward.
No, actually, saying that, I kind of know I know enough to make myself dangerous. You know what I mean? I don't know anything about movie making, but I know some people pretty dangerous. It's like, okay, well, you could just shoot this whole film on a DSLR, and that DSLR doesn't weigh anything. So, in which case, you can attach it to stuff.
Yeah, and
a skateboard,
I
a wheelchair,
agree.
or
a Steadicam rig is definitely preferable to just a handheld shot, even if you're trying to throw people off balance. I agree with that. I feel like, I guess I've seen a lot of stuff that's really hard to watch, and some of it in the cinemas. I mean, some of it is just god awful. I hated that Quantum of Solace movie because I gave me a headache after 10 minutes.
One of the worst was that first Star Trek. Hell. And he was deliberately standing behind the DP, shaking his camera. What's his face, J.J. Abrams? He needs a slap for that. And literally shining torches into the camera. Really? Flashlights into the camera? What are you doing?
Yeah, I feel like that was almost a giant finger to everybody. He had been criticized about that quite a bit. And then when the Star Trek film came out, it was so overwhelming. It almost felt like he had just decided to embrace the expectation because it was bad.
But I think he acknowledged that it was a real problem, and he stopped doing it after that. Because I think it was his wife watched it with him, and she's going, why are all these blue lights flashing across the screen? He's like, that was me shining a flashlight into the camera, and she's like, what the are you doing? So I think it may have needed someone close to him to, because everyone else probably sucking up to him.
Right.
He may have needed someone close to him going, what the are you doing, you idiot?
Yeah, I agree. It was it was bad. As far as my weak point goes, I kind of already got into it, I guess. But the color grading, it really, really got under my skin, and I felt like the movie could have been at least twice as enjoyable if it hadn't looked the way it looked. I know it's, you see it even in big budget Hollywood films where that last Die Hard movie was outrageous. It was outrageous. It was like watching the entire film through a blue sheet. It was desaturated and ugly. Oh, it was bad.
Yeah. There's like some filmmakers who go, I want this film to be entirely orange, which I think is worse.
Yeah.
And then I think Terminator 2 went blue first, or not maybe first, but one of the first who went blue. Mm-hmm. And after that, Jesus Christ, all hell got let loose with the old...
All right. Okay, so let's get into the clips. Like I said, I got more at the beginning than I did at the end, and I'll play what I caught, and we can talk about it.
What was that?
There's nothing. It was just my dad died.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Are you okay? Like, oh my God.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay, so that's a good example of what I was talking about earlier, where I felt like the scene was a little bit underwritten.
At that point, my brain switches off and I just stop listening. What the is going on there?
That's a good scene in that it tells you everything you need to know about her relationship with her father. It just needed to be, the dialogue needed to be polished up a little bit there.
I didn't know what was going on in that scene. I don't. Yeah, underwritten is definitely one way of putting it. Yeah.
All right, here's one. Yeah, here's one that made me laugh.
Brothers and sisters, I'm so happy to see you all. You all look so hot in your robes.
Sororities.
We gather here to bring back what once was. The past is not gone. It lives in these woods. It lives in my blood. It lives in this skull. Bring back what once was. Bring back what once was.
Well, the whole thing with the "you look so hot in those robes," I'm sure was supposed to be funny. Eventually, yes. I mean, once that scene started, I was like, "Oh, okay, I get it now. This is what this film is about," and I get what's going on now. So that was, I think, from an exposition point of view, it worked. A bit silly, but there you go.
It is. I wanted it to be bigger. I as the film went on and I figured out what happened, I wanted that scene to be...
I don't want to spoil it, but I know, so I won't. But have you seen the kill list?
No.
Well, what I wanted to ask you was what you consider to be an independent movie, because there was a movie called The Kill List, which was a British film, and I made a note of how little money it made. So it didn't really get... It was released on IFC in the US. I think it might have been released theatrically, but on a very, 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 minor level. But it made it made something like $147,000, maybe $25,000 in the US, and the rest outside the US. So really no money at all. Nobody's heard of it. But there is let me put it this way without spoiling. There is a huge reveal at some point, and it's like, that's what I wanted it to be. You were saying, oh, you wanted it to be a bigger reveal. And if it could have been that kind of reveal. And Kill List is not a high budget movie, really. I mean, I don't know what the budget was, but obviously it was probably significantly more than this movie. But you can do that. You can do that reveal with a bit of lighting, a bit of darkness in the woods, which don't, that's a set that costs nothing, and the costumes are kind of irrelevant, and with a bit of acting. So yeah, I think that you're right, would have been better.
I don't know.
I saw Tusk the other day. Have you seen that?
No, I want to though. How was it?
Oh, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I had no idea it was Kevin Smith. No idea, because I go to movies and trying to find out as little as possible. This is a good one. If you have never listened to his podcast, this is a good one to see without knowing anything about it, because there's a huge reveal. It's really mental. Sorry, let me say that again. There's a huge reveal that's really mental, and it's great. I loved it, and it got really poor reviews and didn't make any money. I loved it.
I'm a big listener to Smodcast, or at least I used to be, and I actually heard that episode when it first was broadcast, so I kind of know, what happens in the film, but I definitely want to see it, because Kevin Smith is a filmmaker that has not always been amazing, but I've always been interested in his work, and I thought Red State was a huge leap forward for him. I couldn't believe it when he said he was going to retire.
I love Red State. It's funny, actually, because I was watching Tusk and thinking to myself, are there any Kevin Smith movies that I really hated? I mean, there's some that aren't brilliant. I don't think Mallrats is very good, and Clerks 2 is pretty rubbish. But I don't know, he gets a lot of crap, and even Jersey Girl wasn't that bad. It really wasn't that bad. I mean, it wasn't brilliant, but...
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
And I thought Tusk was absolutely genius.
I think Kevin Smith gets a lot of crap because he's such a big personality, and that's always going to rub people the wrong way. But he must be a nice guy, because he never has problems getting to work with people when he wants to.
Funny enough, I don't like him. I don't like him as an individual anymore. I think I got really disillusioned with Smodcast, because when they started smoking weed and just talking rubbish, at that point I just stopped listening, which is quite early on, I think, in the Smodcast. And certainly I can't look at interviews with him, are just annoying, but I think he's a good filmmaker, and he probably is a nice guy.
I think we're totally down a rabbit trail here, but for me there was a very clear demarcation point with Smodcast, and that was after Zach and Mary tanked. He went a bit over the edge there, didn't he? Well, it kind of disappeared for a couple. It feels like it disappeared for a little while, and then it came back.
That is the point. Isn't that the point where he started going absolutely bonkers with the weed? I think it was, wasn't it? Because I think I remember him talking about that.
Yes, and it's kind of a shame, actually, because you hear him talk early on in those smodcasts about how he never was a weed smoker, despite the fact that he made, quote, stoner comedies. So, I don't know. Anyway, it kind of stinks, but I'm happy to see him working again and doing something completely outside of his little box. And I hope he doesn't quit, because I like him. Okay, so was this a joke?
Didn't you, inherit your dead dad's house?
Yeah, but like he came back from the dead, so it's not really f***ed up.
Yeah.
Is that supposed to be funny or
That
weird?
is funny. That is funny. That's a good joke.
It made me chuckle, but I couldn't. Again, I had a hard time getting a handle on the tone. I didn't know if I don't know. I didn't know if it was just supposed to be weird and offbeat or if it was a legitimate joke. But it did make me chuckle.
I'll tell you what I thought was weird was that, is this a particularly American thing or maybe New York State thing that if you inherit a house, you have to immediately move in the next day? How does that work?
No, that's
I'm joking here
100%
because
contrivance.
you inherit a house and then, you and your two sisters have to move in immediately. What's going on there?
Right. Well, they made a point of explaining with her that she had nowhere else to go, right? So they kind of showed a bit of that. Right. She was asking around if she could stay with people and whatever. Right, that made sense. As far as the other two sisters, I don't think that was ever made clear why they had to move in immediately, particularly the one who didn't really want to be there.
No, and they all move in on the same day. So what's going on here? It was a bit confusing. And I mean, obviously they explained it, but it's like, what the heck is going on here?
Yeah. Yeah, it was a pretty obvious contrivance. Here's Johnny Boom.
I thought they'd chant some things and then get horny or whatever.
You definitely brought someone back from the dead.
Yup. Shit's f***ed up.
Felt casual.
Yeah. None of his dialogue really worked though, did it? I mean, that was in the bar, wasn't it? And none of that worked, really, did it?
No,
it seemed very superfluous, that scene.
I don't want to. I'm trying really hard not to bag too much on him because I feel like he didn't have a very well written character, and I feel like the dialogue for him was really bad. But he was definitely kind of sucked the life out of almost every scene that he was in. And
yeah, I think it's partly the writing, partly the actor, and you may have been able to fix it in the edit because there's a lot of sort of dead air kind of thing where he would talk and nothing would. It'd all fall flat, and you're like, okay, let's move on to the next scene or next shot.
The final clip that I have, this one legitimately made me laugh out loud.
Look, all this stuff, it's not as simple as say a few words, spill some blood, everyone comes back to life.
It made me laugh again. He's so
Was that the father then?
Yeah. That was right after his hand fell off.
I thought he was a good actor, actually, that guy. I liked him.
Yeah. Yeah, he wasn't bad. He had kind of a strange part to play, so it's tough to really tell, but he definitely, I didn't notice him being a problem.
The opening credits, it had this, the lead actress cycling through the credits, which is reminded me of Donnie Darko, which is probably a bit unfortunate because the Donnie Darko looked a bit better. Mm-hmm. And not a big budget movie either, Donnie Darko. Well, I suppose, no, they probably did spend quite a lot of money, relatively speaking.
I don't know. I feel like believe it or not, I haven't seen Donnie Darko, which is
oh my
bizarre.
God!
Yeah, I know.
What the fuck? I thought you were into movies, you nutter.
No, I am. It's one of those weird ones. I didn't see it when it came out, and then everybody was talking about it so much that it annoyed me, and I didn't watch it. And now it's been
no.
so many years.
Watch it immediately.
Okay.
So as soon as this podcast finishes, you must watch Donnie Darko.
Okay, that had some pretty big stars in it, didn't it?
They weren't at the time. Like Jake Gyllenhaal was not a name. He'd done like maybe one or two movies before that. Mm-hmm. October Sky was one of those, which I was a big fan of, which nobody's heard of.
I remember that film.
And do you? Okay.
Yeah, well, I worked at Blockbuster when that came out on video, and we had 300 copies of it on the shelf.
I bet they didn't sell or rent.
No, not so much.
Yeah, I mean, it's not exactly the same, but it definitely reminded me the sort of genre because I'm not a fan of the genre, but I am a fan of things like the modern versions of things like Twilight Zone. So I watched Black Mirror. There's a Black Mirror Christmas special. I don't know if you're familiar with Black Mirror.
Only because about 1,600 people have told me I need to watch it since it came up on Netflix.
Now, you need to write this down, right? 1, Donnie Darko. 2, Black Mirror.
Right. I watched the first half of the first
brilliant.
episode where they're trying to get the Prime Minister
Which
to
one
have
was
sex
that? Was
with a
that the
pig.
Prime Minister one?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a weird one, that one.
Yeah, it was good. I mean,
That
it was,
one you
it
might-
was good. I just fell asleep.
Okay. That was weird. So yeah, and then we had this show. I don't know whether he showed it in the US. This show called Tales of the Unexpected, which was I think originated by Roald Dahl, and that's a bit like Twilight Zone. And Black Mirror is a bit like both of those, really, where you got a kind of a big twist at some point in the program or the film. So definitely sort of reminded me of that kind of thing, and I love those really. So.
Mm-hmm.
The dad looked kind of like an undead Walter Matthau.
Yes, he did. An undead, thin Walter Matthau.
And I'm using that as a compliment because I thought he was a decent actor, and so I'd look at him and go, "Oh look, it's Walter Matthau again as a zombie."
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, the end definitely reminded me of Under the Skin. There's a few scenes in Under the Skin that are almost identical in terms of the look. They go a bit further in Under the Skin, but that's highly recommended as well, that one.
Yeah, I need to see it.
Alicia Segal, who, I don't know if you looked this up, but she's the one who played the sorority sister with the vocal fry. Mm-hmm. She also did the makeup. I don't know if you saw that in the credits.
I did.
And despite the vocal fry and the sort of perky sort of sorority sister, she's way smarter than I am. She won first place at the Intel International Science and Engineering Fair in 2003.
Oh, geez.
With a research project analyzing the use of, I can't even say this, analyzing the use of proteoglycans as a biomarker for congenital hydrocephalus. And because of this achievement, an asteroid was named after her. This is a smart cookie.
So this was a lark for her. This was a hobby project.
I think she is an actress, but she hasn't done a heck of a lot. I don't know whether it's just a fun thing. I don't know, actually. You need to.
I wondered if
she
she was Katie Seagal's daughter, but it's spelled differently. I looked it up.
I did look it up in case she was either Steven Seagal, George Seagal, or Katie Seagal's. No, none of those.
You mentioned the opening scene where she was bicycling, and I thought that the music was fantastic in that opening sequence, and I was really bummed out that I couldn't find anything about it online. I found out who the artist
original,
was.
Isn't it?
What's that?
Well, I thought it sounded like original music, didn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I did find they have a link to the score on the winterslides.com website, but I was looking specifically for the pop soundtrack, and I didn't write. Oh, Lauren Musacchio was the vocalist, and I did a bit of googling. I did a bit of googling, and couldn't find anything on her, which was really disappointing because I was hoping to snag that song from somewhere. So let's move into this segment we call "It's Full of Stars."
I want to do something big and something important.
Hey, what the hell kind of movie is this?
It's full of stars.
All right, so this is how this works. We will each decide who we think is the strongest component of this film. The actor, director, cinematographer, music, whatever you want. Go ahead and pick a winner, and I will pick a winner, and I'm going to keep tally of these, and at the end of the year, we'll have an awards show where we can determine who has the most insight. And I will let you go first.
Well, if I choose one, does that mean you're locked out from choosing that person?
Yeah, I think it's got to, because I think we're both going in the same direction.
Pamela Mitchell.
See how courteous I am.
Well, I don't know. The only problem is that you might end up having a bunch of ties at the end of the year.
Right.
The weather season.
Yeah, we can't have that. Yeah, she was definitely terrific. I know we've said it over and over, but I thought she was really strong and very affecting. The final scene of this movie, I don't want to give it away, but, and I guess there's not much to give it away because it kind of ends on sort of an ambiguous note, but I thought she was really, really good.
Yeah. I don't know if she'd have a career as a lead, but certainly she should be in more stuff. Whether she's a supporting actress or whatever, she should be in more stuff. She's not been in a lot. I think she's done some she's done some work for TV Land or something, and she should be in some more TV work, I think.
Yeah, agreed. Since I cannot choose Pamela Mitchell, I am going to choose Terrence Cray, the writer and director of this film, and I feel like overall it was really well put together. I've mentioned before that I thought the writing was pretty good, and he's done some stuff, and I think if he continues to do some stuff, we may hear more from him, because overall the project was put together in a pretty professional manner. They've got a nice website, and it looks like he keeps himself busy, which is important.
Yeah.
So I think that we'll hear more from Mr. Cray.
Yeah, very solid. Yeah.
All right. And then finally, this is a segment we call Sequelitis.
And now for something completely different.
Who'd want to do that? Sequels suck. No way. By definition alone, they're inferior films.
You can't stop me no matter who you are.
All right, Neil, if you had the opportunity to make a sequel for this film, what would you do?
I had one thought, because right at the end of this movie, there is that sequence where they're in that black zone, which is kind of like a limbo or something. Mm-hmm. And as I mentioned before, it's a lot like Under the Skin. So now, Under the Skin was a very low budget movie, probably the lowest budget movie that Scarlett Johansson's ever been in. Mm-hmm. And it's very interesting how they made that. I suggest you check it out, listeners, or Paul, if you haven't seen it. It's very, very interesting.
Is it science fiction?
That was fascinating.
Am I thinking of something else?
Yes.
Okay.
Science fiction, but it's shot in such it was made in such a very gritty way, in kind of a poor part of Scotland, that it's a really interesting juxtaposition of science fiction plus, a pretty grey Scotland plus Scarlett Johansson, not looking like Scarlett Johansson as well. Very interesting. So yeah, maybe you could get I don't know, Scarlett Johansson to appear in a sequel, and it was just set in that black void. And I don't know, it probably combines both movies, and then no one knows what's going on. They're just talking to each other's backs,
right?
The mirror backs, and
so crossover characters.
Spoiler alert! Scarlett Johansson is naked through the whole thing, because she gets naked in Under the Skin. So
talk about burying the lead.
It's not as exciting as it might appear, because it doesn't. It's always the way, if you have like an attractive actress and she's going to do a nude scene, it's going to be for the integrity of the movie, so it's not going to be something sexy. They're just going to be nude, and it's like, oh, okay, well, she's nude.
Yeah, right. It's never as good.
That's it. I don't know. I haven't really got a plot for it, but anyway, I didn't really prepare anything. So,
all right. Well, I formulated something, but I was going to write it out and make it sound really clever, and I didn't have a chance. But basically, my idea is this: I think you've done everything that you can do with this concept. In terms of the tone and the mood and all of that. However, I think there could be something very lucrative in taking the Johnny Boom character and spinning him off into a sequel that's more of a sex romp comedy, where he's running around trying to impregnate all kinds of women to increase the chances that there will be a vessel for the zombie father to incubate as it were.
What was the subtitle for Van Wilder? Oh yeah,
there was
Van Wilder Party Liaison. So it could be Johnny Boom Party Liaison, couldn't it?
Party Liaison. Yep, I like it. You just take it in a completely different direction, and I think give that guy a chance to shine.
Well, that's just as an adjunct. I mentioned Under the Skin. I mentioned Black Mirror. I mentioned Kill List, actually.
Right.
All these movies I was reminded of these movies when I watched this one, so I'd recommend all those. Also, The Wicker Man. Don't tell me you haven't seen The Wicker Man.
Well, you said not to tell you.
Okay, so Oh, Jesus Christ. Have you watched any movies? You just sit at home like playing with a cat? What's going on? So the 1973 Wicker Man. Watch that. Also, Donnie Darko, even though it wasn't just that opening scene that's reminiscent, but also sort of the feel. I mean, the plot's not the same, but it's an interesting It's kind of similar sort of feel. And because the guy who's the lead in Kill List is, I think it's Neil Maskell is his name.
Mm-hmm.
I love him. He's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. Everything he does. He's also in a series called Utopia, where he plays a very different character. He's also in The Mimic, where he plays a comedic character. Brilliant actor. So I'd say Utopia, even though it's not the same, is a very, very good TV show.
Is that British cast in the Kill List?
Kill List is British. Utopia is British. Under the Skin is sort of Scottish guy. Black Mirror is British. So I mean, it's not deliberate, but yeah, Donnie Darko is obviously American production. That's about it, really. But those definitely reminiscent. I mean, the thing about anything involving like an occult, any kind of occult, is they tend to, it's kind of a British sort of origin with, Crowley and stuff like that, and what have you. So, Aleister Crowley.
Aleister Crowley, who was on the cover of Sgt. Pepper, is that right?
No idea. I'm not a Beatles fan or a Crowley fan. So don't know.
You don't meet a lot of Crowley fans. I think he was. I think he appeared on the cover of Sgt. Pepper.
Today is Tolkien's birthday.
I'm surprised you know that.
British authors.
It
was on some
hater.
RSS feed somewhere. Yeah.
Interesting.
Born in 1892.
Gee, when did he die?
Don't know.
Yeah, me either.
No idea.
I was trying to figure out if he outlived
Lewis.
Lewis died on the same day that JFK was assassinated.
Oh, that's why his name wasn't in the papers then. Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
He's also a bit of a pedo, wasn't he?
A bit of a what?
Allegedly. Pedophile.
Lewis?
Are you talking about C.S. Lewis?
Yeah. No, I've never heard anything about that.
Really?
Yeah.
Alice in Wonderland, take pictures of young girls, blah, blah, blah.
No, I've never heard anything about that.
No?
If
Really?
anything, I had heard that he was possibly gay and that his marriage was kind of a sham. Or I shouldn't say a sham, but more of a friendship than a proper marriage, I guess. But no, I haven't heard anything about that, so that gives me something to read up on. But have you ever seen Shadowlands?
Yes, I think so. Has that got like Anthony Hopkins in or something?
Yeah, he plays Lewis. It's about the...
I think I've seen it, but I don't remember it, to be honest. That must be quite old now.
Pretty old.
93, yes, over 20 years old.
Who directed it?
I don't know if I've seen
Jurassic Park guy directed it. The old fella who just died.
Really? Steven Spielberg?
No. Spared no expense fella.
Oh, Attenborough.
Yes, Attenborough. I'm pretty sure he directed it. Anyway,
I think
good
I've
movie.
seen that, yeah.
As a reminder, if you'd like to watch today's movie, head on over to winterslides.com or get yourself a membership to indieflix.com and you can watch it there. That's how I watched it. Neil T. can be caught hosting his own show, the Dime for Scale Movie Club, at dimeforscalemoviepodcast.wordpress.com. That's a terrific show. I've been known to pop in from time to time. If you'd like to send us your questions, comments, or snarky remarks, or if you have an independent film that you would like to see featured on the show, you can reach us by email, paulandneil@compendiapodcast.com, or find us on Twitter at compendiapod. Next week, we're going to take a look at The Memory Thief, billed as a mesmerizing, audacious psychological thriller in the tradition of Taxi Driver. Written and directed by Gil Kaufman, this 2007 movie stars a few faces that might be familiar to us. Should be fun. We hope to see you there.